Hey everyone, welcome to episode 7 of New to Weeaboo for the month of August 2019. I'm Nemesis and I'm joined by Alcatraz.
Hey.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things I guess probably should get to before we actually get into the main thing, because a couple things happened, one of which is really horrible actually. Kyoto Animation, as you probably all have heard, one of their studios was lit on fire.
Yep.
By an arsonist. Several, I think, as of right now, the count is 34 people died, unfortunately. Yeah, it's really tragic. I came home and saw them. Wow, that really sucks.
Yeah.
They've made several anime I've really liked, and I don't know how things are going to move forward for them from here, but it's heartbreaking.
It is.
But I guess in news that's much more happy and ish and related to what we're talking about, they finally announced a release date for Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0.
How long have you been waiting for something like that?
I believe they initially announced this movie in 2012.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's coming out in June 2020 in Japan, so there's that. Yeah, like I said, that is actually our topic of discussion today is Neon Genesis Evangelion, the original 1996 anime.
Yep.
We're talking about the whole thing because it's a ride.
It's a trip.
Yeah. If you somehow don't know, which there are people who don't. It's about Shinji Ikari and him piloting an Evangelion unit to fight angels, which are coming to Earth. That's the gist of it, sort of.
Sort of.
There's a lot more to it than that.
It doesn't really explain things very well, but I don't think you can really explain things very well.
Yeah,
it somewhat defies explanation.
And it takes a long time to explain things, and there's a lot of gaps in it.
There's a lot of details that need to be detailed.
It's not as straightforward as it initially appears. I mean, especially with the intro and everything, because the OP is very much a very upbeat adventure type thing. It's Cruel Angel's Thesis, which is probably one of the best OPs we've ever had for an anime. Still,
yes, it's a very high bar to beat.
Mm-hmm. That's well, 95 and 96. That's 296. That's when it aired. Okay. Yeah, if it wasn't for legal issues, I'd totally be opening this podcast with that song.
Yeah, we don't want to get into legal issues.
I do not want to get into a legal tangle with Gynax. Thank you very much.
Music licensing surrounding Evangelion is a mess. No matter who you are, we don't want to add ourselves.
Netflix had trouble.
Yeah, even Netflix is having issues with it. We don't want to stick our heads into this as well.
Yeah, it seems like a smart thing to do. But like I said, Shinji Ikari is pretty much the main character. And he's a 14-year-old boy who's, conscripted by his father, Gendo Ikari, to pilot a robot.
And save humanity.
Yeah, Eva Unit 01.
Yep.
From the Angels, yeah.
Which is the second unit, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is Unit 00.
Yep.
And then later on, Unit 02.
And then 3 and 4. And yeah but that's a different thing.
It's a little difficult to talk about just because of the sheer amount of stuff going on, plus just the often, opaqueness of the anime.
Yeah. It's rife with symbolism.
Yeah, so we're going to get into spoilers, obviously, if you haven't managed to see it, which a large chunk of people, it turns out, haven't been able to see because,
it's really hard to
until recently, it was really difficult to watch it legally.
Yeah.
Because it was released on DVD back in the early 2000s, I believe, and then just went out of print, and they never reprinted it, and they never released it on Blu-ray in the U.S. or in Europe.
And it's called print, even though it's a disc.
Well, they still print stuff to the disc.
I think they call it stamping, but
whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's been difficult until Netflix recently got the worldwide streaming rights to it. So now it's finally now it's finally available to watch. So I would just say spoilers if you haven't seen it, go watch it first. Watch it End of Evangelion.
Yeah, because we're not talking about like the rebirth stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, we've neither of us actually been able to see rebirth yet, but I plan on doing that eventually. Probably we'll do it once 3.0 plus 1.0 is out.
Yep.
But so go ahead and watch it. just know, even though Netflix is pretty much your only legal course right now, if you're not in Japan, which, wow, okay. But just know that there is a couple translations you've probably heard of as well. Yeah, there's a couple of those, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
All right. So actually getting into more spoilery stuff, I guess, beyond that. Boy, howdy.
Oh, boy.
This anime is a depressing trip and a half.
Ugh.
It's what was it? It's not an anime you watch to feel good.
No.
It makes you feel pretty bad for quite a while when you watch it.
It can also make your head hurt.
The only thing is, it's weird because this anime can't really have the same impact on new viewers as it did back in the 90s because it's become so infamous for what it is.
Yeah.
Even if you kind of have an idea already of what's going to happen before you even get into it.
Yeah, even if you've never seen it before, not even hearing about it and hearing about certain aspects of it and seeing little references here and there to it in other media is basically impossible.
Yeah.
Because, even though you can't, up until recently, you couldn't find it, references to it were everywhere.
Yeah, references, memes, references. Steven Universe had just one.
Heck, yeah. The classic one, from End of Evangelion. Everyone references that scene.
Yeah, references and parodies and all sorts of stuff. It's just constant because a lot of the dorks who watched it back in the 90s grew up and became dorks in animation and kept referencing it. Because Evangelion is probably this is not hyperbole, probably one of the most influential modern anime.
Yeah. I mean, that and Akira, but I think, when was Akira come out?
I think that was 80s.
Yeah, because Akira was another one.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the most influential because it just, the archetypes, the visual language and everything just is still resonating in media now.
Yeah. It's timeless.
I mean, there's also the weird thing of like, that's the other thing, it's a deconstruction of the mecha genre.
Yes.
Which you don't need to be familiar with the mecha genre to enjoy it, or I guess enjoy it, quote unquote.
Definitions of enjoy get kind of fuzzy here.
Yeah. But yeah, it kind of is that because a lot of mecha genre that does is like, oh, hey, we're going to have a teenager, put him in a robot, and it's going to be awesome adventure time, woo! And then it's like, no, it's going to be psychologically, it's going to be traumatizing. The kid's going to be barely functional because he's a 14-year-old kid. And you're telling him to fight a war for you.
Put the weight of the world on the shoulders of a 14-year-old child. Children.
Yeah.
14-year-old children.
That's the kind of, it's just, what happens is in this situation, you don't have a cool adventure thing. You have 3 broken kids.
You have some severe PTSD.
Yeah. You get 3 broken kids at the end, is what happens. And that's the thing. It's a deconstruction. And later on, of course, stuff reconstructs, because that's what you do. You know, someone deconstructs the genre, and then you reconstruct the genre.
Yep. Bring it back. It cycles. You have a deconstruction, and then the deconstructions become the mainstream, so then they bring it back to the original. Yeah,
and right now, that's one of the things is like Madoka Magica is a deconstruction of the magical girl genre, although some people would argue that point, but it's supposed to be deconstruction of the magical genre. But right now, we have not had the reconstruction of that one yet, really.
Yeah.
Interesting, but we've had
things being dark.
Yeah, it was still kind of, everyone's just stuck trying to be Madoka Magica.
Yep.
Which arguably, you could argue, someone might be able to argue that Madoka Magica might have been influenced by this being a deconstruction.
Potentially.
Okay, anyway, other characters. Of course, you got Asuka, Langley, Soryu,
Rei
Ayanami.
Yeah.
Those are, I guess, the big ones. Misato as well. Kind of Shinji's caretaker.
Yep, and like commander of the whole group. So she got promoted to major, didn't she? Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, they're all, the 3 children in particular are very different personalities. Shinji's very hesitant, unsure of himself.
Yep,
full of doubt, and Asuka's very sure of herself and also very angry and noisy, and
she is a very angry child.
She's very much the tsundere incarnate.
Yes,
she is if you say tsundere, it's probably one of the first characters that pops in people's heads is her.
Yep.
And you got Rei, who's very, very monotone, quiet,
almost
creepy.
Emotionless.
Yeah.
Not quite. There's hints of emotion there, but it doesn't really get
what
shown
is
much.
The Kudere archetype.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't even know what that means.
I know what those are. And
Yeah,
we
taken
don't
to the
have
extreme.
We don't have a yandere.
Probably.
Probably.
Those are they're archetypes of sorts, and it's interesting is Rey, like a lot of them is like Rey is taking that kind of character and taking it to an extreme of this is creepy, isn't it? She's kind of a creepy girl, and the thing was it was supposed to be, the audience was supposed to be creeped out. Guess what? People waifued her anyway. Boy, did they waifu her hard too.
Yes, they did.
And these people are still having those arguments. It's been over 20 years. We're still arguing about Asuka versus Rey. And of course, you got people accompanying with Masato.
Yeah.
Or if you want to get the rebuilds in there. There's a whole another character as well. It's another waifu.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'm only vaguely aware of her. It's interesting how they I guess the characters play off each other is interesting just because it is again deconstruction, so you watch them the breakdown, their slow breakdown over the course of the series. Two of them in particular. Rey is an
enigma.
Yeah, she has her own kind of weird breakdown, but it's a more subtle, and I guess keep in line with the character, it's kind of a more subtle breakdown of her words.
It's she doesn't really have a breakdown, as more she just comes to kind of a slow realization
of sorts.
And
she is still arguably a very broken person.
Oh, they're all completely broken. I don't think there's a single character
without their issues.
Yeah, I don't think there is a single character without some sort of brokenness.
Yeah, I mean, we find out you
might
be
able to argue some of the secondary characters, but that's the only reason you might be able to say they're not broken is because you can't really see them. They don't.
Yeah.
You don't get enough airtime.
Yeah, even Gendo, you find
Gendo
out in the end, he was a broken man who had a broken kid. Who is arguably Gendo being broken himself is what made his kid broken.
Yeah, because
he basically pushed his kid away in some weird attempt to protect him from himself, and so because Shinji just kind of, we see that Shinji just kind of wants love and approval from his dad.
He just wants his dad to love him,
love and approval.
He just wants anyone to love him.
That's the big thing about Shinji is he wants someone to love him.
If only there was someone who loved you.
Yeah. Which, that's a whole thing in itself. Because you see that kind of he's trying to connect to people, but at the same time push them away out of fear of being rejected, much like his dad did to him. So it's this weird thing. He's almost willing to let them in, but then backs out because that's scary.
It's getting too close. It's scary.
It's scary. There's now the potential. Now it's real. Now there's the potential of rejection or whatever, abandonment or whatever,
or fear of hurting them. Or that's the other one, is he's so afraid that all he's good for is hurting others.
Yeah, it's strange. And then Asuka's got her whole thing is like her mother killed herself and was clearly also not in good mental shape at the end. Like it was clear, her mother has possibly what's the word I was looking for? It's not delusional. It's something close to it though.
Crap. That's right there.
But anyway, her mother was clearly had a loose grip on reality at the end. By the end, going by Asuka's flashbacks and whatnot, and even tried to bring her daughter along with her.
Yep, come die with me.
Yeah, and that really affected Asuka. She just kind of went, "No, I'm not going to cry ever again."
Nope.
That's because it really hurt her. Obviously, you guys, and she had a strained relationship with her, I think, stepmother, I believe was,
Yep.
That was a bit strained, and now it almost feels like she's kind of in a hurry to grow up, because that way, if she's an adult, things won't hurt her as much. I think that's her line of thought, which is not an uncommon thing for a kid.
Yeah,
I think being an adult will make everything better.
It won't.
And so really we see that because there's Ryoji, who's Misato's ex-boyfriend, on and on, off and on again type lover.
Yeah.
Asuka has a crush on him, and she throws herself at him, sometimes almost literally, just throwing herself at him, and he smartly doesn't do anything.
Smartly, yeah.
He's kind of a pig in some ways, but
But
he has some
limits.
boundaries.
He does have standards.
Yeah, and she's pretty much in a hurry to grow up. We see that she's in a hurry to grow up through a lot of things, and kind of the realization, I guess, part of her, I guess maybe there's some part of her realizing she hasn't really grown up, and she's not actually ready to grow up like she thinks she is.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that whole thing. She puts a lot of her self-worth on being a good EVA pilot.
Yep, and that's a recurring, sort of a similar thing between her and Shinji.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Similar
when Shinji comes to realization too, they both believe that's all they have.
Yeah.
That's it, is to pilot the EVAs, and without that,
they're nothing.
They're nothing. Which Asuka, because Shinji didn't come to that realization until Asuka.
Yeah.
When Asuka, Asuka.
Yeah, it's
Asuka,
you want to
Asuka,
say it one way, but they say it a completely different way.
Yeah, Asuka is how they pronounce it.
Asuka.
Asuka shows up and realizes that Shinji's just naturally better than her at piloting the EVA, and she's just
that upsets her.
That just sets her off because that's her
and
thing.
That's what causes her to spiral, basically.
Yep, because I'm no longer
the best.
I'm worthless.
Yeah. Puts so much of her self-worth on being the best EVA pilot that when she wasn't anymore, she got to the point where she literally couldn't anymore because she was spiraling too much.
Yep. Because yes, the EVAs require a psychological connection.
Yeah. And also Shinji's thing was like, because of it, he's part of the reason he was so desperate for it is because, well, if he's good at piloting EVA, then his dad will love him, right?
Yep. And he got that one comment, and that was huge for him. That right in the beginning.
Yeah.
Good job. when he complimented his son, and Gendo said, "What was that? Good work, Shinji," or something like that. And he was elated.
Yeah,
everything was great.
Words of approval from Dad.
That's all he wanted.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Also, Ray's interesting of itself because, like, this is a whole weird thing.
What is Ray? Who
Ray
is Ray?
Seems to be some sort of pseudo clone of Shinji's mom, Yui. Maybe,
but also
her own person,
but also an angel, but also Adam.
It's complicated and confusing and not straightforward, and I'm pretty sure like people have been theorizing for, again, over 20 years, and possibly large theories have been thrown out and abandoned and resurrected and all sorts of stuff. But Rey is very much subservient in many ways to Gendo for most of the series. She will just do whatever he says. It doesn't matter if she will kill her, she'll do it. And there's also clones of her and everything, and it's implied that the Rey we saw at the beginning of the series was the second Rey, and then she dies, and then she's replaced with the third Rey. And then they wipe out all the rest of the clones because there's like dozens of those.
Yes.
And it's creepy.
It is. It's very creepy.
Yeah, and there's the whole thing, like, what was it? I think it was Asuka in particular kept calling her a doll or something.
Yep.
Yeah. And then at the end of the at the end of Evangelion, she actually tells Gendo, "I'm not your doll," because Gendo's all like, "Okay, it's time to do it," and then she's like, "Nah, I'll do my own thing."
Shinji's calling me.
Yeah, Shinji needs me. It's the other thing. It's like it's kind of implied she has a thing for Shinji, maybe, sort of.
Yeah.
But then there's of course that whole thing. If she's a clone of Yui, then oh boy, it's awkward. But then again,
weird.
It could also be some weird motherly thing kicking in too. It's not actually romantic, you know.
Yeah, it could be the maternal instinct.
Yeah, the maternal instinct kicking in. It's complicated and hard to think about. Just so don't.
Yeah, there's quite a few things in this series that you just don't want to think about because, well, most people don't want to have to be.
You don't want to confront these sort of
therapist.
You don't want to confront these thoughts sometimes.
It'll make your head hurt.
Yeah,
and I don't think it'll help.
Speaking of relationships, of course, the whatever's going on with Shinji and Asuka is weird.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be Asuka might have a thing for Shinji, but of course she doesn't want to have a thing for Shinji.
Yeah, I think that's the way I would put it as well. She does, but she also hates him. So we get. So it really brings out the soon side of it.
That's also part. It doesn't really help either of their states of mind in doing these sort of thing.
Yeah, because it really confuses both of them.
Yeah, like, what's the scene in Asuka's just like, hey, let's kiss, I'm bored.
I'm bored.
And then
That doesn't help.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And then Shinji's got some weird conflicting feelings towards her.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole bunch of, at first there's the one thing, he tried to kiss her when she was sleeping, and then
She's kind of creepy.
there was the really creepy one
At the
where he was trying to get her to wake up
Yep.
in the hospital bed, and he violently shakes her until eventually, whoops, pops her hospital gown open, and then
relieves himself.
yeah, not like that.
Not like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What euphemism can we say?
I'm just gonna say he masturbates.
Okay.
He masturbates to her, and then
Yeah, unconscious. Well, she's unconscious, and
which is really messed up.
it is really messed up. Which
In fact,
he
the
then
original sub is pretty explicit about what it says, but they changed it to "I'm the lowest of the low" for this one because of someone in particular. Yeah. So their whole thing's complicated. And then you got Kawaru. Jeez, we haven't even talked about Kawaru. He's one of the angels. He shows up. Everyone's like, oh, he's gonna be a pilot, and he's like, no, he turns out to be an angel. And then he's the first person that ever showed genuine like affection for Shinji with no conditions or anything. No, it's unconditional. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a whole thing. And I know in the manga they straight up him and Shinji kissed, and it's like, oh, okay.
Huh.
That's one of the big things of the Netflix translation. This is one of the biggest points of contention right here is the scene where, because in the okay, so there's the word they use in the Japanese is an ambiguous one, to be honest. Okay, it's a weird one. Basically, it's very contextual and whatnot. So it's one of those things where the word can mean a lot of different things, but it translates roughly to like in English. So in the depending on the context, can go like just like to love and all sorts of stuff. And so that's one of the things. The original translation, way back when they first released this in the U.S., they translated to love. The call they made was translated to I love you. But the Netflix translation, they thought Studio Kara decided, no, let's make it more literal. So he says, I like you.
Worthy of my grace.
And there's that worthy of my grace thing, which that's actually not necessarily the point of contention. The next line is the point of contention. That's kind of a weird one that kind of makes sense because of everything. And then there's a whole argument about that where it's like, it's, because their reasoning was it's supposed to match the original ambiguity of the scene versus what the American, when they did it originally, was less ambiguous, I should say. But their argument there is by changing making it into more ambiguity, it messes up Shinji's character development over the course of the next few episodes after that. The final few episodes, I should say, because I believe that was episode 23 that happened, or 24. One of the two.
It was pretty near the end of the series.
So that's the argument there, is by doing that. And also there's the whole argument of it is LGBT erasure because it kind of become iconic. These two have become iconic in LGBT circles because of that's uncommon, and particularly in the 90s, where it's like, there was a sense of romance there enough. I mean, if you look at the scene, there's a lot of romantic stuff at play. A lot of visual language of the scenes and stuff are very clear. There's a romantic tinge to this relationship between the two of them.
Uh-huh.
But the original, so it's one of those, it's a really difficult thing to talk about just because of the original dub or the original translation, the new translation, and the original Japanese. And it's like, it's difficult to say the least.
Yeah. Nice long rant on that one.
Yeah.
Not really rant, but yeah.
It's difficult to really, I say, it's because I can see the argument for the ambiguity, but at the same time, it's pretty obvious already. So it's like there's no harm in making it less ambiguous, I guess.
Yeah, it screams it's supposed to be romantic interest.
Yeah, because the Studio Kara's whole thing is supposed to be ambiguous, and others say no, it's not supposed to be ambiguous. Look at all the other versions of the scene, including, again, the manga. They did outright kiss. So that's not ambiguous.
Yeah, that's totally just guys be wait.
Yeah, the other thing about that's the other thing about this the old translation is Studio Kara is very controlling about it, and they insist on some really baffling translations Like there's some stuff like there's text on screen that just doesn't get translated for no apparent reason. So what was it? The whole children thing. That's
the whole
weird.
children. Yeah, they always use the plural.
If you listen to them, if you listen to the Japanese audio, they say like third children. They say it when they're speaking Japanese, but the subs have always been just like third child.
Because that's proper English.
It's proper English, but they were insistent when it was translated that no, it's children. They just got to be children because their whole reason was it sounds better when it's spoken with Japanese, but it sounds terrible in English.
It's grammatically incorrect.
It sounds horrible in English.
Translation
and so it sounds bad. Like, and this is not just the subtitles. The dub had to do it too. They had to say third children.
Yeah, and that's
it
just
sounds bad and wrong. But they know it has to be that way. And apparently, this was a fight back then in the first translation too. They fought over this, but back then, Gainax didn't have the power they do now. So they relented eventually. It's like, look. This is in English. This will sound horrible and stupid. Don't do it. We can't do it this way. We're going to say child. Yeah. And then, fine. This time, though, they have a lot more power. And they said, no, it's children or you don't get a translation.
Yeah. It's just, what is the point of a translation if it's objectively incorrect grammar?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not a real translation then. Your closest argument is if you were to use it as a proper name, and proper names don't get translated. Yeah. But even then, it's just.
Yeah, it's the thing is Studio Car is very controlling. This is not necessarily Netflix's fault.
Yeah.
In fact, this happened with one of the rebuilds. Was they had a good translation, and then they didn't like how the audience reaction to a preview and completely overhauled the whole thing and were very demanding. And that's why a lot of people apparently the 3.3 is seen as very bad now because the translation's pretty bad. Because Studio Car is very insistent on a closer to literal translation, which is not good. Most translators will tell you that's a terrible way to translate.
Yep.
But nope, Studio Car is very insistent on it.
Yep, because there's so many things in the translation that if you try and keep it too literal, you'll lose context because it requires stuff that your translating audience won't ever get. There's cultural context it doesn't transfer.
Oh yeah, I've encountered that a couple other things. It's like there's like sometimes you get what sounds like a just goofy phrase in English actually makes perfect sense in Japanese, or not because of it's translated weird, but because it's a cultural thing.
Exactly.
Like in English, it's in US, it's like that's a nonsensical phrase. It doesn't mean much to us, but over in Japan it means like there's a thing. Is go soak your head sounds like a goofy insult.
Go soak your head.
Yeah, soak your head. Here it sounds like a goofy insult, but in Japan, it's referring to an actual thing you do at a temple, which is you take a scoop of water and it's like a kind of a spiritual cleansing of sorts.
Yeah,
you're soaking your head.
Yeah,
yeah. It's a kind of a weird thing there. I was running that in Sailor Moon actually.
Right.
Because I mean, we haven't even talked to one of the characters, Ritsuko Akagi, the computer girl.
Oh, yeah.
Whose mother is the computer.
Sort of. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, they got the Magi computers, and like the three computers are the three parts of her as her as a woman, her as a mother, and her as a scientist.
Yes. Well, those are three.
So they all conflict with each other constantly, and that's what makes them good.
Yes. And they're constantly checking each other and balancing against each other, and yeah. And basically the main control for everything.
Yeah, she's got a weird thing with her mother, and her mother apparently had a weird relationship with Gendo, who actually didn't like her that much, was just using her for something.
Yeah.
That's a whole complicated. Then there's Ray, who,
yeah.
She tried to choke out Ray, then somehow Ray killed her, or someone killed her because she was trying to kill Ray. Yeah.
Oh, I think she jumped off and killed herself. I think that's what she tried to choke out Ray and realize what was going on, and she just said, fine. And then splattered on the ground. Or something. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know, like, she was choking Ray, then the next thing she knows, she's dead.
Yep. Because it doesn't actually explain how.
Yeah. You see the body outline in this blat of blood.
Yeah, which to me looks like someone jumped and went kersplat.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it was weird. Then you got the Sealy guys, and it's there's what is it? Their whole organization is Neve or something. It looks like nerve, but it's not. You don't pronounce it nerve. I know that much. It's like it's supposed to be German, so it's like Neve. Neve, something like that.
Except you're also hearing it pronounced with a Japanese accent. Yeah, the V is pronounced sort of like an F.
There's that scene of Eska trying to say German, and apparently it sounds pretty horrible if you know any German.
Yeah.
And it's like,
because yes, Asuka is supposed to be German.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, let's be real. It's made for a Japanese audience. Most of them are not going to know.
Yeah.
Really. That's why you get some weird English stuff. Sometimes when they put English in there, it's often nonsensical because they just know, oh, it's English. And they don't need to know more than that.
Yep.
Just like, that happens a lot with stuff in English. That's typically English. They have another language entirely. It's bunch of nonsense.
But most English listeners wouldn't know it's nonsense because we don't know the language.
That reminds me of the thing of, what was it, Native Americans on films. They're like, oh, speak in your language. They would say some horribly insulting things to everyone around them. And it just goes in the film because they don't know any better. Yep. And it's just hilarious because it's basically they're talking about how horrible these people are. It's amazing.
Great.
It's like this little ways to give everyone around you the finger.
Yep.
Fun times. But yeah. That's a whole nother non sequitur. But what was it? I was thinking of right. This other thing, this anime was actually, as many people, was infamously plagued by budget issues.
Oh boy.
Yeah. The thing was, my understanding is, for a long time it was thought that was they just went over budget and brought out money, but it turns out apparently someone actually took the money and ran. Is my understanding. I'm not sure. I don't know if I can verify that or not. But yeah, that's why I heard it was like someone took the money and ran. That's why suddenly they had to. They were like, "Oh crap!" At the end,
throw the sketches on. Just film the sketches.
There's some stuff where it's like they actually towards the end they actually use their limitations really well.
Yes, that is one thing I want to say. You can definitely tell they're running out of budget, but it still works.
Yeah, they made it work. Of course, you had the elevator that overly. They noticed it several times where the scene just seems like it's a little too long because it's just one still shot for literally like a minute or more.
Yep.
And it's like, yep, they are definitely dragging it out to save some money.
But it also somewhat works.
Sometimes. I think there's a couple times it didn't quite work.
There's a couple times where it's probably a little bit longer than it
can we just move along now? No, we got to hold this because we don't have money.
Yeah, this needs to be this long.
The thing with the sketches, though, at the very end was like that whole thing was like Shinji's mind at the end was actually pretty clever use of limited budget.
It was really clever. For something that's supposed to be super complicated, it works. Mm. It does get a bit hard to follow, and
possibly intentionally.
It's supposed to be somewhat hard to follow. That's the whole point that they're trying to go through is, trying to figure it out because it's super complex.
Yeah, because that's the thing. One of the things was it feels like the final 4 or 5 episodes of the series were deliberately designed to disorient and confuse you as a viewer. Like, you are just like, what the hell is going on?
Basically put you in the shoes of
Shinji. It's deliberately designed to throw you off, so you sit there kind of confused. And kind of more or less force you to watch it again to really get it. It's a little easier to understand after multiple viewings.
Yes.
I find, because we've only watched it, I think, twice each.
I think this is the second time.
Because, I found it. I was like, okay, well, we're going to watch this because it's a big deal.
Yeah.
That was a couple years ago. I was like, this is a big deal. I've never seen it. You've never seen it. We need to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a thing.
Congratulations.
That whole scene.
Finally get it figured out. Yeah. I guess.
And then there's End of Evangelion, which is the movie, which is the real ending of sorts. That is so complicated. But yeah, the movie, clearly, they actually had budget again.
Yes, they did.
That whole thing is like, it's now, okay, so that the movie was really crazy and crazy visuals and a pretty cool use of a song. And
Yep.
Yeah, and the giant Ray and screaming.
And others.
Yeah.
Korra was there as well.
So my understanding is, this is my understanding of things that someone explained to me. The final few episodes of the show, and End of Evangelion are more or less the same events, but from different perspective. The whole thing is, the humanity, what was it?
Human Instrumentality Project.
Instrumentality Project. I remember something. I remember it started with an I.
HIP.
Yeah, exactly. I remember the acronym. I remember the 2 words on the end. I didn't remember the one in the center. Other than it begins with an I, and it's kind of a long one.
Human Instrumentality.
Yeah. The whole idea is they want to take all of humanity, all of their consciousness, and merge it into a singular entity.
Or is it restore it to its original singular entity?
Because we're supposedly the 18th angel or something like that.
Yeah,
because we as humans, and all the other angels are what we could have become.
Yes.
Yeah. It's an odd thing.
And
but
Lilith and being the mother of all and us rejoining back to Lilith.
Yeah, that whole thing. But anyway, my understanding is the episodes in the anime are more or less those events in Shinji's mind. We're seeing that all from Shinji's mind is that's the whole thing, and then we get to the congratulations. Everyone's part of the collective consciousness now. But End of Evangelion is the external. What the heck's going on outside of Shinji's mind, which is all crazy in of itself. With the new Evas, coming and attacking Asuka, and everyone turning into goo and all that stuff. And giant, that all that craziness is on the outside. That's what's happening on. However, End of Evangelion ends with Shinji rejecting the collective consciousness and going out on his own.
Yep.
Which is interesting because that seems to be completely contradictory to the end of the anime.
Yep.
So we got that whole thing. So it's like it's either two different branches from the same timeline, or B, some sort of weird thing like he initially was part of it and then he's like, nah, I'm good, I'm out. And so it's like we only saw parts of it and did, kind of have to interlock them together to get the whole story there. Yeah. And that's a little difficult. And then apparently I'm hearing that the rebuilds may not actually be reboots, but actually may be part of the same time continuity and of themselves. I'm like, oh Jesus.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
It's not. A lot of the stuff is simply not clear on the first viewing unless you constantly pause and take down notes,
which surprisingly I didn't do.
Yeah, I would recommend not doing that. I would recommend just watching it multiple times. You really want to see stuff. There's a lot of stuff we're glossing over just because we don't have time to go over it. It's like, do we really want to go
the nature of the Evas?
Yeah,
what are the Evas?
They are not actually robots. They're living beings that are.
They're part angel as well.
And Unit 01 might actually be Shinji's mom, probably.
I think with Unit 01, it was built differently than 0 and 2 and the rest of them, where it was built directly out of Lilith, or it was like, they call it son of, or child of Lilith.
Yeah.
And was then infused with the soul of Yui.
Yeah.
Shinji's mom. So... It's part Lilith and part Yui.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's like the armor plating is not to protect the Evas. It's to constrain them.
Yep, and to control them.
Yeah, because they have to go in the plugs, and it's the whole thing. That's why they have the whole psychic whatever link has to be established, because they're actually technically living beings. And
yep, the levers they pull are only part of the control.
Yeah, and you got Eva 01 going berserk with Shinji inside, and turns out, oh wait, now it doesn't even be plugged in anymore.
The whole S2 drives coming into play.
Yeah.
Because they only operate when run with external power. They have a battery that can run for
5 minutes.
It's I think it's 12 minutes if they don't really do anything, 5 minutes if they stay active. So it's if they go into low power mode or whatnot, they can run longer. But
yeah.
Asuka only had 5 minutes because she was actively fighting.
Yeah, that whole thing. It's interesting. She beat them, and then it didn't really work because they just keep going even though they're all super broken and stuff.
Yep.
That was a thing. Oh, I mean, of course, the angels themselves, different versions, I'm having to attack in different ways, and
yep.
Of course, the one I think the one people know the most is the weird blue pyramid-y thing.
You mean the floating Bass Pro Shop?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
that whole thing is strange, and then it's a really this whole weird thing is really weird. And there's also this is because they're trying to building up to the third impact, because the second impact or something happened in Antarctica and melted the whole continent, which caused the world to flood a bit and messed up climate and everything. Because that's of course it would happen.
Yep.
And this takes place in 2015 actually, I think.
Yeah.
So which at the time was 20 years in the future. Now it's 4 years in the past.
And it didn't happen.
Yeah, that didn't happen clearly.
No, what we got may have been actually worse. Anyway.
I mean, you haven't even talked about some of the other characters. Like there was Toji, who was supposed to be another one of the children.
Oh, yeah.
And then things went wrong because his evil was another angel. And
well, it got infected by an angel.
Yeah.
Is what
and then
happened.
There's the angel that infected the computers. And
yep. That one was like a very small one that started spreading and then reconfigured itself into a computer-like organism so it could hack the Magi.
Yep. It's a whole weird thing. And then there's Pen.
And then there's Pen.
The penguin.
Yep.
Just Misato's penguin.
Just there.
And Shinji and Asuka that was the other thing, was Shinji and Asuka's issues with each other were partially built off the fact they had to live with each other in the same apartment with Misato.
Mm-hmm.
Misato, yeah. Misato.
I have no idea.
Misato, yeah. It's with her and this Miss Misato, who of course a lot of the male characters at Shinji's school have a crush on, because Shinji. Oh, that's the other thing. Shinji may or may not have a bit of a crush on her too.
Yeah.
She also straight up kisses him at one point right before she dies.
Yep.
I guess because I don't know what her thought process was. She was dying, so who knows?
Who knows?
He might have just been, okay, let's give this 14-year-old kid some sort of motivation before I die.
What's the worst that's going to happen to me? I'm already dead.
I'm about to die anyway.
What's the worst? What are you going to do to me?
And of course, there was the whole weird, in the last episode, there's a whole weird thing with the alternate universe where it's just a slice of life anime.
Oh,
including Rei running to school with toast in her mouth and everything.
Yep.
And Asuka and Shinji were just childhood best friends. And the whole love triangle. And that whole weird thing. And Shinji was a normal 14-year-old rather than a broken one.
Yeah. Who had a family.
A normal family. That was weird. And I know people latch onto that because what happens is you get something hyper depressing, people immediately want to make it happy. Thank you very much.
I just want to see the characters I like be happy for once.
Just let them be happy. Let my child be happy.
Yep.
It's a whole big amazing thing, honestly.
It's really hard to pin down.
And also the other thing which we haven't even touched on, which is simply it's Anno's, it's one man's journey through depression. The director, that was his thing, was like this was him, kind of his way of working through his depression.
Yeah. And
it kind of shows in many ways the kind of the hopelessness, and just a lot like Shinji is just like, I want to die.
Yep.
The whole thing is just him working through all those feelings kind of coming out in Evangelion. It's like, it's kind of crazy. It's,
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing is just, wow.
Yeah, it is really hard to pin down thoughts and feelings on it overall. Like, do you enjoy it?
In a sense, yes.
It's like
define enjoy in this context.
Yeah, at this point, define enjoy. Do I regret watching it? Very much no. I do not regret watching it. It's definitely something to watch, but it's not a happy, good time.
No, it's gonna make you feel like a piece of crap.
Yeah, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It is a good thing, and it does what it does very well. But you're not going to feel good after it.
No.
But that's the point. There are some pretty creepy scenes, though.
Oh, yeah, there's some creepy scenes.
There are some pretty creepy scenes.
There's a lot of stuff. There is definitely some stuff, particularly in the actual End of Evangelion movie, which is, there's some stuff where it's like, yep, you see things.
Yep. In the series, things tended to be rather featureless.
Yep. for the most
Not
part.
so much in End of Evangelion.
Yeah, they won for. Yeah, so it's just know about that. It's not. I would not call it fan servicey because in the context of the scenes you see, it is very much disturbing.
Yeah.
It's disturbing and creepy and just weird and just like if you get off on it, okay, sure, but that speaks more to you than it.
Yeah.
More about you than it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just there's a whole bunch of stuff we're just barely touching on. Just the generals, I can barely mention the Sealy whole thing. Their whole thing is like turns out we're working with Gendo, but now Gendo's turning on them, and they're turning. Yeah, there's a whole
the nature
lot
of the second
there.
impact and Adam. We didn't even really talk about Adam and barely touched on Lilith.
Yeah, which is like
what
they
are.
They have an angel like all in their basement, basically.
We haven't even mentioned the staff or spear. What is it? It's a spear.
Yeah, that one.
Spear of
Evangelion.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that one.
Exactly. I don't know how to pronounce it. I can't remember.
But it's super important and shows up 3 times.
Yeah. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
And we cannot possibly do the whole thing. If we really want to do this like a super deep dive, it would take us like easily 5-6 episodes.
Oh yeah, really break it down.
And I'm surprised there's a podcast dedicated to just unraveling Eva,
attempting to unravel this.
Yeah,
the funny thing in things like this, they're that complicated and that seem really deep. Unfortunately, a lot of the times,
not that deep.
The answers that you seek
aren't there.
Were never there to begin with. Not even the writers know.
Yeah,
they never wrote
one
an
thing is a
answer.
lot of people read into the Christian symbology, and this turns out no, we just thought it looked cool.
Yep, all the symbology is just there because
supposedly that's what it is. It's just the thing is just I don't thought it looked cool.
Yep,
there was nothing.
Wow,
deeper
cool
beyond
robots. The actual answer.
Not really.
I know.
When it comes to the Christian symbology stuff, it's just it looks cool. Everything else though is like there's some meaning there. Sometimes some of the meaning where you may be reading into it yourself. Some of it may actually be intended. Some of it you may just misread it and just came to a different conclusion than you were supposed to. But whatever. There's a lot of things going on, and it's I think worth anyone. I think at this point, anyone who is going to be into even casually being interested in anime probably should go ahead and just watch it.
Agreed.
I would not make it your first one.
No. This is not Babby's first anime.
No, despite what Netflix would tell you.
No. This is not an introduction to anime.
But I would put it lower down your list. Watch some other stuff first, then this.
Yeah. Don't start off with this one. But do get to it pretty quickly because it's important. Is what it is to the whole genre and beyond this genre to animation and storytelling in general at this point, because everyone in animation and storytelling knows this story. It's become such a cultural point, even in Western media for crying out loud, even though it wasn't even it's not a Western show or movie,
but a bunch of us weebs watch it.
But it's become so ingrained in just almost world culture at this point. It's so
I haven't
important.
even touched on the fact that it's merchandise to hell and back.
Oh yeah,
like seriously, it's like if you give them money, they will let you slap the Evangelion logo on whatever product you're selling.
Yep,
I've seen Evangelion branded razors and branded tchotchkes and all sorts of stuff. I mean, there's a Transformers Evangelion crossover toy which actually exists, and there's a few hundred of those made, and now they're super rare and valuable.
Yeah,
because they're already expensive to begin with, and now that sort of stuff. It's just like they're willing to put Evangelion branding on anything if you give them enough money.
Yep.
But yeah, you can talk about that whole thing about the business basically taking control of things, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's more or less it. We could go a whole lot into detail, but there's no way to
keep it within our time
down to an hour. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. If you want to check out more, you can go to newtoweeaboo.libsyn.com. It's spelled Libsyn. If you want to see the other ways to get it, You can check out all the links there. Let's see, Google Play, Spotify, and iTunes. If you want to find us there, you could search for New to Weeaboo on any of those and subscribe, all that stuff, or rate and review, all that. YouTube.com, search for New to Weeaboo. Subscribe, like, comment, bells, all that stuff. If you want to contact us, we're newtoweeaboo@gmail.com. Questions, comments, criticisms. What was the first time you watched Evangelion?
Yeah. Where were you when you first saw it?
How old were you? How much of a big? Because I noticed it seems to have more of an impact on people who are teenagers when they watched it.
Yeah,
which makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, who knows?
When their brains are a bit more flexible. that point where it's still flexible enough to be impacted, but also mature enough to actually begin to understand things.
Oh yeah. You could also follow us on Twitter. We're at New to Weeaboo. We'll occasionally retweet stuff. One of the things we did retweet was the crowdfund for Kyoto Animation. You can also follow our personal Twitters. I'm at Nemesis Prime 1. He's at Alcatraz with 7 instead of a T and an underscore at the end. So that's it for this episode. Join us next month, September. We will be talking about Love Live.
Oh no!
Oh yes, we're going down that road. Probably a good
I've-
idea to go. Also, go something a little more lighthearted after this one. So, hope to see you then. So, until next time, take care.
See ya.